Hello and welcome to Axumawian Media. This is Melat Habtu on Inside Tigray. Today we are live from Boston. We have great panelists here with us and we're live. We're going to be having a discussion about some of the Tigrayan advocacy that they've been doing and also the lessons learned from that and also where they aspire to be in terms of the community mobilization they've been taking part in and other personal initiatives and projects they've also been taking part in. So please stay with us throughout this discussion and we hope that it's an insightful and fruitful discussion. So first of all, I will introduce Sam Rawit. Sam Rawit Nagus Silva is a Tigrayan American born in Aksum, Tigray and raised in the US. She's a member of the New England Tagaro community. She actively contributes to Stand with Tigray, organizing impactful campaigns and fundraising for various projects benefiting Tigrayans. This includes collaborating with HBS to provide education to Tigrayan children through satellite programs. Samarit has also traveled to Sudan and remains dedicated to helping refugees in the Amrakuba, as well as highlighting the remarkable efforts of the Asmelash Grant Foundation. Recently, she successfully fundraised and distributed school materials, supporting 2 rural schools in Aksum and providing resources for visually impaired individuals across Tigray. Currently, Samarit focuses on forging connections with like-minded organizations and institutions, utilizing her platform to raise awareness and engage students in discussions on the ongoing genocide in Tigray. She is also a part of the Black Lives Matter in New Hampshire. So welcome, Samarit. And over here on this side, we have Marhawi Wells-Bogue. Marhawi is an IT technician whose background is in journalism, multimedia, film, writing, and research. He attended the University of New Hampshire and earned his BA in journalism, multimedia, and writing. He's worked on film documentary research projects via university grants and has been a part of many initiatives that aim to show the effects of the genocide on Tigray using different platforms of multimedia. So thank you both for joining us here today. We're glad to be here with you in Boston. So my first initial question is going to be to the both of you, because it's quite a general question. It's going to be about the advocacy that you guys have been doing for the last 3 years. You both have been taking part in various projects, initiatives, and my question to the both of you is, what would you do differently? So in the last 3 years, you've engaged in so many different projects, and I'm pretty sure you've learned a lot from the things that you've done. And as you continue in the kind of initiatives you've been taking part in, there's lessons that by default you learn. So my question is, what would you do differently today in some of the projects you've been taking a part in, whether it's personally, whether it's as a community? How would you change? How would you make changes in a different way today? We can start with Samarit.
Thank you for the question. Can you all hear me? Yeah. That's actually something that I've been thinking a lot about, just kind of reflecting and thinking back, like, what could I have done better? What could we have done better? I think the first thing that comes to mind on a personal level is taking the time to step back and reflect and analyze throughout the past 3 years, because I think a lot of us, we were like, go, 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 we must do this, we must do that, without like taking the time to breathe and be the best, like our full potential, so that we're using our energy more efficiently. So I saw throughout the 3 years, I was spreading myself thin and doing things that might not necessarily been the best way to go about things, or wasn't as impactful as it could have been had I taken the time, reflected, and then been like, okay, this is what needs to be done based off of what point we're at now. I know that's very general, but that's one of the biggest things that I think moving forward, I've been reflecting on and trying to do better at.
Great. Marhawi, if you could take that question also.
All right, thank you, Melat, and hello, everyone. Well, first of all, I just want to say that diaspora, all the Tagaro diaspora did a phenomenal job, an amazing job in terms of raising awareness and exposing all the crimes that were happening in Tigray. So I think you can look at it from multiple ways, right? How did the diaspora do in terms of like raising awareness and, you know, and pretty much challenging the West and saying, hey, there's a war going on, there's a siege going on, do something about it. So I think in terms of that, the diaspora did an amazing job as a result of the different movements, because it was a collective activism. You know, diaspora did a collective activism, spreading, you know, awareness everywhere. So as a result of that, a lot of initiatives were created all over the place. For example, to mention like a couple of them, one in Boston, Stand with Tigray, was one of the, you know, organization that was created. We were part of it. We worked together. And another one, I Stand with Tigray in Washington, D.C. Of course, there's OMNA. Different organizations that were created as a result of it in order to, you know, be a voice for Tigray. So in terms of, I think, advocacy, in terms of even us in Boston, we were the first, I would say we were the first who came up with the idea of creating short documentary films to, like, in pretty much documenting everything what was happening back home. We were the first, like, city to do that. I don't think other states did as amazing job as we did. And Sam Raud is also part of it, part of a lot of the videos that we did. So I think collectively, in terms of being a voice, raising awareness, did an amazing job. But of course, what Sam Raud also mentioned that for the past 3 years, you know, all the diaspora did, like, again, we went above and beyond to be a voice, including elders. So when you are every day, you know, advocating on Twitter, you know, on all kind of social platforms, but also like doing protest, it takes, of course, you know, a toll on you, emotionally, you know, psychologically. So I wish the one thing that was available while this was happening, you know, even though the diaspora had so much energy, you know, raising awareness, so much energy, like coming together, but at the same time, while this was happening, there were a lot of young people like me who were being affected by it, like, you know, by the war, because their families members were dying, you know, just a lot of things happening, you know, seeing even seeing all the, you know, strong images that were coming out from Tigray, that has some psychological, you know, effect. So a lot of young Tagaru were affected by that, and as a result of that, you know, a lot of them had, like, there are like a number of people who, you know, died that we know of, and I wish there was a space, like a place to check on young Tagaru, even on elders, by the way, like that includes everybody, to check mentally, like, you know, make sure how are they doing, you know. I wish that was something that we had available, so that way, when someone is going through something, like, we can catch it, you know, before it's too late, and say, you know what, okay, you need to take a break, you know, you need like, you know, you need help mentally. So I wish that was something that we did differently. But other than that, other than like mental health, other than, you know, like all the psychological effect, I think, of course, just looking at all the collective activism, we did an amazing job. We made history as a diaspora.
Okay, great. So, I mean, it's very interesting that we're now kind of looking at the impact that the diaspora had before maybe the Pretoria Agreement. So before the peace deal was signed, there was a very large, like, effort coming from the diaspora. Many who were born in the US, maybe didn't even understand the language, but had been very involved. And then I saw a decline. And I saw a decline, maybe you said this might be because of the mental toll, but I also think it has the political aspect of it. Having that political discussion is not something that the diaspora is used to. So many of the diaspora are very comfortable with getting involved when it comes to humanitarian initiatives, humanitarian projects, but it seems like there's not really an interest in the political discussions. And I mean, that's very understandable because our political dynamics very complex. But how would you, if you were to kind of advise medias, so medias such as Axumawian, other medias also that are relatively kind of significant in the diaspora, how can they engage the younger generation to start to have these political discussions? And how should, and do you think the diaspora should be comfortable having political discussions, especially since, they had been very involved when it comes to the humanitarian aspect of things? Or do you think that's where the line should be drawn? What is your opinion on this? I don't know who wants to take this.
That is a very tough but important question. I think I'll start by saying that the humanitarian aspect of it is intertwined with the politics. And so I think you can't fully separate humanitarian with politics. And so my advice would be to the medias and to the diaspora and to the people in general that are allies of Tigray, the number one thing is focus on the people. What are they saying? Amplify that. What do they need? How can you get them to that? And if it requires us pushing and getting into the politics, and it includes intertwining and challenging all governments, then so be it. That's something that we can't be afraid of, because politics define, like for example, it's politics that are set in place that are not allowing our people to have food or to have medicine, so there's no way around it, and we can't be shy about it. I think as long as at the forefront it's the people and what they want and what they need, then we have to do whatever we need to do, and we need to step into politics, we need to step into everything that we need to in order to provide them the things that they need. That's kind of the short answer of it. Just focus on the people, whatever it requires.
Thank you, Samarit. Marhawi, maybe you can touch on some of the impact that media can have on this. So what's the media's role in making the diaspora comfortable in getting involved?
Getting involved in terms of like politics or just everything?
In getting involved in many aspects of the discussions rather than limiting themselves to one aspect, like just the humanitarian aspect.
Okay.
Like Samarit said,
Yeah.
Just going off what Samarit said,
Yeah.
she said both of them coincide, right?
Sure.
So what's the media's role in getting them involved?
All right, yeah, this is a really good question because I think you mentioned it briefly. A lot of the diaspora were super active, like during the war, super active doing different activities, coming together, but also were impacted. Well, I guess maybe I can speak for myself because I don't want to speak for everybody. Impacted when the peace deal happened, and because I was expecting something else, and then I got a different result, you know? So I think a lot of people perhaps felt the same way, you know, I did, and it kind of like discouraged a lot of the young people, discouraged to even be more involved, like saying, you know what, what's the point of doing this, doing that, if I'm not gonna get, or if my people are not getting what they deserve. So I think it boils down that a lot of the diaspora, you know, are for the people, you know, from day one. I believe that. I mean, even speaking for myself, from day one, I was for the people, like not the politicians. You know what I mean? Look, I see children being bombed. I see, you know, civilians being bombed. So I have to advocate for them. I have to be a voice for them. But then you're right, though. Then how do you even differentiate? Because if, let's say, I support Tigray, does that mean like I support, like, you know, the political affiliation? You know, I think that's, a lot of people may assume that, but I think that's where the discussion needs to happen, you know? So I think as a diaspora, yes, so media is responsible. Media is responsible in bringing discussions, very like mind-splitting discussions, but also challenging discussions by asking hard questions, right? So a lot of diaspora spend their whole life, you know, in the West. I spend my whole life, most of my time here, you know what I mean? So I don't even know the political climate there, you know? Like I can see it from a distance. I may have an idea, but I have zero idea what's happening there, like day-to-day basis, you know? So I think what would help, personally, this is just an idea, suggestion. I think what would help is having someone who is knowledgeable about the politics there, you know, or even politicians themselves, having a discussion with us, like just like honest discussion though, not like something like, you know, you coming and just like giving a speech and then you leave. No, like as a Tigrayan, I want to ask you questions. I think there should be like a venue, like there should be like an avenue where Tigrayans, diaspora, can have a discussion with the politicians. That way, you create a good relationship, right? But if there's a separation between the politicians back home and the diaspora, then that's where a lot of the division comes. Then that's where a lot of the like comments, it could be like negative comments comes. So I think we need to, all the medias need to challenge all the leaders back home to have like relationship, like an honest and authentic relationship with the diaspora in order to also help us be informed. Because otherwise, like, who knows better than, better? They know better because they are already in the country, right? They are doing different things. So if they don't tell us what's happening exactly, then it will, like, we can assume we can do things, but it's not gonna, we may not get as great result. But I think if we all work together, right, then we can definitely accomplish a lot of things. And because I feel like I think that's the problem. There's a lot of maybe this is not a common thing, having like this just open dialogue, like academic dialogues, like discussions where all of us come together, ask hard questions, and if we don't do that, I think we're not gonna get like anywhere. Like, we're always gonna continue to have divisions and just like separations with no like reason, no purpose. I think we should all come together, have discussions, and ask hard questions like, okay, how do we come together and accomplish this? For example, right now there's hunger, right? This is a great example that we should all come together and discuss, be on the same page, and try to help our people. But if you don't have all that kind of information, and the politicians are not telling us what's going on, then it could be hard for the diaspora to do something too. So I think having that honest, clear conversation will go a long way.
So Marhawi, while you've got the mic and you're answering this question, it's very interesting because you are a media, someone who's in that profession. I just want you to kind of tell me what free, independent, and fair media means to you. What does that mean to you when we say independent media as a professional and also as someone who's from Tigray? What does that mean to you, and how significant is having independent media for Tigray and the situation we're in now?
Well, I do think media is very important, and having independent media it's very crucial. To me, a great media is a media that challenges all kind of questions. Challenges, ask hard questions, finding the truth. It has to be all about the truth, right? If a media doesn't advocate truth, then that means that media is then somehow tied to something. You know what I mean? Like there's an agenda. For example, like you can say like CNN, Fox, news. We all know those like big like news outlets, but they have an agenda, right? They have an agenda, so they try to accomplish that agenda, whatever it is, right? So, but I'm not saying be like Fox News or CNN, but I think a news outlet, a media should to seek truth. Truth is just very powerful. Everybody's fighting for truth. Everybody's seeking truth. So if a media doesn't stand for truth and justice, then I don't think it would be a good media, because then that media could be owned by anybody. I can come, and if I'm a millionaire, I can come and, hey, I said, do this for me, and then that media will do it. That means that media doesn't have, man, there was a word that I was thinking. But I would say stand for truth, justice. If you have those as your backbone, then everybody will love to come to you and hear you, because your main point is to spread truth, finding out. If something happens, okay, everybody wants to know what happened. By bringing people, interviewing different kind of people, and whatever is happening, by bringing, different people and interviewing and asking questions and spreading message, I think that I would say will go, like that would be a great media in my opinion, and help people, and like also get enlightened. People get enlightened by just truth. So that's what I would say, like truth and justice.
Okay, so independent media is truth and justice. Okay, so Samrait, if you could tackle that question as well. What does an independent media mean to you?
I was nodding my head as Marhawi was talking because honestly,
You could like add on to. What you
yeah,
said.
honestly, I think that's really important. Like the truth is really what it comes down to. Transparency as well. I also think media outlets that make it accessible to many people. It's kind of what Marhawi was talking about, but making sure that everybody's included in the conversations. And that could be like whether it's language or whether it's going into areas and talking to people that aren't often spoken with. But honestly, I think it really is truth, and then with truth comes justice. So I'll have to agree with what Marhawi said, and that's kind of how I see it as well.
Okay, and also, so we've kind of established that the importance of media. How important is it for the community? So you guys are a part of the Boston community, for example, but all the communities throughout the US and Europe, how important is it for them to empower their medias? And what kind of support should they kind of bestow upon their media so that their media can actually do a good enough job?
Yeah, it's very important that like that's the source that will be able to like amplify the voices and what needs to be said. So they're basically like the microphones or the megaphones that we would use in a protest, right? Like that's really the tool and the resource. And so any form of support, financially, obviously, nothing can run without money. That's just the way everything works. So financing where you can, as well as showing up to when they're having events, as well as participating in the conversations that they're having, as well as giving them feedback and making sure that they are representing the people and the community. Those are really important things. But yeah, definitely very important to be supporting the medias.
Okay, so we've been speaking kind of about the importance of media, but just coming back to you guys and your personal goals and your visions, what do you guys envision for Tigray in the next 5 to 10 years? And where do you see yourself in that vision?
This is a very good question, but also very difficult. So I will do my best to answer this question, because at this point, what's happening in Ethiopia, like one day something can happen, next day something can happen, right? But this is my prayer. I pray that for the next 5 years or 10 years, Tigray will be in a better position than it is right now. There will be peace. Children will go to school without having to be worried what they're gonna eat for lunch or dinner. The population of Tigray, of course, most of the majority are farmers. I hope that farmers will be in a better position to farm in terms of agriculture and just grow in production and help people around them, and that farmers who have lost so much now will gain what they lost. I hope that schools, if not all of them, most of them will be rebuilt, and not only elementary schools, but also universities. Same thing with hospitals and clinics, because right now, a lot of children cannot go properly to school. A lot of people cannot get medicated properly. So I hope that by then they will have enough of everything to do what they need to live their basic lives. And most importantly, that there will be no war again in Tigray.
So the main thing being peace and the ability for people to live their lives in the way that they want, including children and prosperity to all.
Absolutely, just peace, love, and prosperity.
And where do you see Marhawi? What part does Marhawi play in this vision?
Yeah, so that part, I would say, in the development. I see myself in the development and growing of Tigray, being part of it, somehow contributing, whether through my ability as like filmmaker, as a writer, uh, or whether as, I don't know, like as a common, Tigrayan.
Interestingly, actually, I just noticed the support TDF on your T-shirt, and I just want you to kind of speak about that because, I mean, our audience might spot that, so it would be great if you could give them context.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking. Yeah, so as you can see, it says support TDF. So we were actually filming today regarding, TDF, Tigray Defense Forces, veterans, pretty much those who have, paid the ultimate sacrifice in Tigray. And right now, of course, there are a lot of problems in Tigray. There's hunger that's happening right now, which is very tragic, and a lot of people need help. But when it comes to Tigray Defense Forces, they are the ones who actually saved Tigray. Not only Tigray, but also all the leaders in Tigray. So they should be prioritized, but unfortunately they have not been prioritized in terms of, getting medicine and those who need help with surgery, those who need material like wheelchairs, crunches. I feel like their issues have been forgotten or put to the side, and as a result of that, people are just forgetting them, forgetting what they did, and their pain. So this is just a reminder for everybody that we need to help them because a lot of them are young like us, just going through a lot of hardships right now. And if we don't speak for them, if we don't say something, then who's gonna help them? So I definitely I just want everybody to remember them for what they did, but also help them what they did because the most the most powerful thing is when someone lays your lives for you. That's the most powerful thing, and that's what TDF did. They laid their life for Tigray. So we need to be a voice for them. We need to help them. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Our project will come out one day, but stay tuned. And thank you for asking.
Thank you, Malhawi. I will pass on the same question to you, Samrait. Where do you see yourself in that vision that you have for Tigray in the next 5 to 10 years' time? So tell us about the vision, but also include yourself in it.
Yeah, in 5 to 10 years, I hope to see libraries. I hope to see art centers. I hope to see health institutions. I hope to see playgrounds and farms that are already in flourishing. I hope to see just joy back on the people's faces, them going back to work, a lot of the rebuilding that will need to be done in the next 5 to 10 years. I want our people to have pride in it. It was built, they were paid to do the work. And so I see a lot of peace. I see a lot of healing going on. I see a lot of community building. There's no shaming people. There's just, we all went through this together, and that it brings all of Tigray closer. And then myself, I see myself in the 5 to 10 years in Tigray. I wish to have a house. I wish to have a family. I wish to have little kids running around in the art, in the library, all those things. Yeah, that's where it's at.
That's amazing. That's a very heartwarming vision. I love it. So I'm going to pass it on to any members of the audience who may have a question. I think we have a question over there. If you could first introduce yourself and then continue with your question. Thank you.
My name is Safani Masfin. I'm from Boston. First and foremost, I would like to say that in my book, you guys are my heroes. I know you guys individually. I remember you from all the screaming, and I know you in the Boston rally, even though I was not here. I just want to tell you guys what you guys did in my book. You guys are the next future heroes. And in a sense, even though we're talking about the TDF, because I saw all that wave during the war, and how we all supported the TDF, and it was a big power, and I wanted to know how it actually kind of died down, or instead of that, TDF has to actually revive into becoming a Tigrayan diaspora force in the future. And we actually have to, because there was a lot of power. I mean, going forward, how we actually use our force. In America, Tigrayans. There were a lot of Tigrayans all over the continent. So how are we going to use this force into the future? Because after the war, it kind of died down. There's no rally, there's no organized power that I saw. They were actually dismantled. I wanted to actually ask on that. What is the future going forward as a Tigrayan diaspora fund or diaspora? Thank you. But I would like to actually remind you again, you guys are my heroes.
We appreciate that statement. I'll give it to another question over there as well. So we'll take the questions first, and then we'll get the answers.
Thank you, guys. My name is Million. I'm from Boston as well. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate you guys. I know most of you from the media and personally, so you guys are a hero, just like you said. We appreciate everything you did, being voice for our people. My question is, currently, the media in Ethiopia as well as internationally, they're portraying the war is over since Pretoria Agreement. But we know people are dying. They're still dying, even though there's no clashes, but people are still dying. Can you tell us what's happening right now? We would appreciate that, and thank you for everything you've done again.
Thank you. So my question is, again, I want to say thank you guys, both of you. And we all know what you've been doing. My question for you is, you both expressed your vision for Tigray in the next 5 to 10 years. What do you think would be the major obstacles for these dreams to come true, or for your vision? What do you see on the way? I ask this question so that we all can, expect those obstacles and try to manage them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think those are all our questions. So if, if Samarit wants this, Samarit, maybe if you can start from the first question, because you both will get a chance to answer all of the questions. So if you can start from the first question, which was, why has the effort in terms of mobilization and support for TDF, why has that declined, and what is the future of the diaspora's force in supporting and empowering people back home?
First, I just want to thank you all for your wonderful questions and the kind words that you all said, and I want to also give you all your flowers as well, right? Like every single one of us played a role, and every single one of us, we had to play that role in order for things to work out the way that they did. So just make sure that you're appreciating everything that you all are doing as well. It's a team effort. In terms of the decline of the diaspora, I want to reiterate again, like what you're saying, like we are a mighty force. Like I can't, like the fact that I'm part of the, like Tigrayan as a whole, but as well as the diaspora force is just like, I don't know, I've never seen anything like that. So it's a really powerful force. And I think I want to also mention just having worked with movements that are in climate justice as well as like the Black population in America. Things like this, it's normal for movements, right? You have your peaks, and we've been at our peak. Just to remind you, in the US, there was a time where the Biden administration was briefing about Tigray on a daily basis. For the amount of diaspora that there are, that's just amazing and just unbelievable, really. And so we've reached that peak, and now we're kind of at that valley. And so now each and every single one of us, it will require us to re-energize ourselves, for us to realize that we still have it within us, to realize where we come from, whose blood runs through us, and wake back up, because the people need us just as much, if not more, today. And I've already started to see that. I've already started to see people starting to like kick back in gear, and soon we're going to be coming back up at that peak. But it will take every single one of us. I know people will look at like the person that's chanting and be like, oh, they're doing the work. If there's one person chanting and there are people behind them chanting back, like that's not as meaningful as people might think, right? So I think that I see a lot of people working. It's been a little bit more silent, but I'm looking forward to all of the people and like individual efforts to come together and come back stronger, because I really feel it. Like, we are a reckon to be, like, oh, I just have so much love for all the diaspora and everything they've done. But yeah, I think that it will require every single one of us to realize that we are needed just as much as we were in the very beginning.
Great response. Okay, Marhawi, you could take that question.
I don't know if I could tap that answer. She answered it very well. I mean, yes, I think, well, first of all, yeah, thank you so much. To be honest, everybody did, like Samrawi said, everybody played a role. Just because some of us were, in front of the camera or like, at the front, that doesn't mean the rest of the people, didn't do their job. I think that's what I said at the beginning. Our effort was collective. That means like, I have to do something, she has to do something, he has to do something. So I think that's what made it very powerful. To your point, that we were a very powerful unit, as one. And I think the unity part, that was what no one can really break. Anyone tried, but our unity was so strong. No matter where you go, if you go to London, if you go to like Europe, if you go to US, it's just the unity was so strong, because I believe we had a common purpose, and that common purpose was to free Tigray from all the invading forces and our people to be free, like just live as humans. So I think that kind of purpose gave us kind of like a vision to work together. And I think going forward, we need to have a vision that can bring us together, that we can all fight. So we can have the same energy and power to do anything. I do believe that we are powerful as a unit. We are powerful when Tigray are one together. Otherwise, if we are divided, right, we're not going to accomplish anything. I think to your point, what would be the obstacle? What would be like, a problem like in 10 years for Tigray in terms of accomplishing peace, or accomplishing, infrastructure, or like other stuff. I think it would be unity. If we don't have unity going forward, if we don't come together as a people, if we don't have a common purpose and a vision, what we want Tigray to be, then definitely that could be a huge problem in achieving those. So I hope that going forward, we'll have clarity, right, what we want. But also, I think you also have to ask yourself too, what do I want for Tigray? How do I want Tigray to be? So also the question starts with you, right? Like you have to ask yourself, what do you want to do for Tigray, right? So it comes from you, and then having that desire, for Tigray to change, to help the people, Tigray to be in a very beautiful place in 5-10 years. You have to have that vision also yourself, not somebody else. Having that vision yourself, and then when you combine it with other, people, and then it becomes a force, it becomes a lightning. So I hope that going forward we'll have clarity. We're not going to be confused, with different agendas and propaganda. To be honest, like at the end of the day, right? No matter where people live in Ethiopia, we were together. Like I used to be proud Ethiopian. I'm just going to be honest. I used to believe in Ethiopia, but when the war happened, I saw the way people think. Like it changed me. It made me a different person, because I didn't think, because like I thought like everybody was just like your brother and sister. But what that showed, what that taught me is that there's so much politics back home that can like brainwash people for no reason. So also going forward, that I think that education is very powerful. We need to be educated, so that way no one can come to me or to you and say something else, and then you believe it without investigating and without knowing what's going on. So I think going forward, we need to have clear vision, We need to be educated, informed, so that way no one can like make us fight against each other. I think that's the biggest problem back home, is that anyone can say something and then you fight without having any evidence. So I think going forward that we will be much more informed, much more educated, and having clear vision, clarity, and that's what's going to make us successful.
Right. So Sam Wright mentioned the need to re-energize ourselves personally, how he spoke about reigniting our vision and our unity being, which is one of the obstacles he mentioned, the lack of unity. So he kind of answered both questions. Let's go back to the second question, which came from Million, which he kind of spoke about the disinformation about the situation that currently exists in Tigray. Many people since 2022, November 2022, feel like that peace deal has been signed, the war is over, let's move on. And there's so many efforts to move on, rightly so, because people do want to rebuild. But how accurate is that? How do you kind of gauge the situation and the kind of information that's coming out of that?
I really appreciate the question, just because it's been one that I've been thinking about a lot. I've seen a lot of like international news medias falsely stating, oh, the war ended after the peace agreement. And I see that being written so often, and it's being spread to like so many people, right? Because the thing with media is if you're not putting out truth, whatever you put out, it's being blasted for everybody to see. And it's really dangerous, and misinformation and disinformation is something that we have dealt with for 3 years, and we know how damaging it can be, right? People saying, oh, it's a fake genocide, there's nothing's happening. And so right now, I feel like less of, oh, fake genocide, and more of, now it's over. And that's really, really harmful because it's not over, right? The war officially has not ended. Sure, maybe the conventional like weapons that the Ethiopian federal government was using is no longer using it, right? But you have other forms of war that were used, right? You had the starvation, you had the blockage, the complete siege, you had medicine not being able to be let in. Those were tools of war, and those systems are still in place today, and that's why people are still dying from starvation, right? In addition to that, you have foreign invaders that aren't the federal troops that are in there. You have Eritrea, you have Amhara forces. So things that are saying, oh, the war is over, it is a huge, huge, huge problem, and it needs to be tackled every time you see it. So if you are reading it somewhere, comment, it's not over, and then go in with the facts. There's still hunger. People are dying because they don't have food, because the system's still in place. And then if you hear somebody saying it, it's as quick as like, oh, actually, that's not correct. Anytime you see it, it needs to be stopped, because false information is so, so, so harmful. And again, media is supposed to be about truth, so you want to make sure that you're challenging it when it's not.
Definitely. So we really need to be aware about the kind of messaging we're putting out there, specifically when it comes to the condition of the people. That is not accurate information. So definitely. Let me give you guys maybe a minute or so to just conclude and give the audience your last remarks.
Awesome. I just want to quickly add to the last question, or one of the questions that was asked about some of the obstacles, and Merhawi answered it with the unity, and that's very important, right? We all have to be on the same page in order to make change. But the other thing that I just want to quickly add, I'm a business and finance major, so maybe that's why money keeps coming up, but finances is like, nothing can get done, nothing can get rebuilt without money. And I know us, we put so much into Tigray the past 3 months. People have sold their houses, people have sold their wedding jewelry, people have sold so many things and given up so much things. And to a point, like, you can't give any more. So I want to challenge us to look at different avenues. Apply for grants, whether it's a personal like scholarship to do projects, or it's for organizations that you're in. There's so much money out in this world. So just really make sure you're using the resources and you're not burning yourselves out. Like, we can't help Tigray if we've literally given everything, we have nothing left to give. But there are people that are willing to. If you work at companies, a lot of them do like matching. So they want to look very good and they want to give, and so they're looking for opportunities. What better opportunity than for Tigray, right? So just make sure that we're using the resources that are out there. And then the last thing that I just want to say is, first of all, thank you for having this discussion. It's so important. It's really, really crucial, and I hope that things like these continue. And I just want to say to the audience that we've come so far. Like, I know it feels so long and we haven't done, it might feel like we haven't done enough, but we've done so much with the little that we've had. But I just want to say we haven't come this far only to come this far, right? Like, we still have so much left to go, but we've come so far. Like, so many people doubted us. I don't know if there are other communities that would have been able to do what we've been able to do while mourning people. And while just still fighting, the resilience, keep it up, make sure you're taking care of yourselves. But just know that we still got to continue until our people are free. Every square inch, every mouth is fed. Just make sure that we're being the best that we can so that we can continue supporting our people.
Amazing. Thank you, Samrarit. Samrarit said the work is not over. So over to Marhawi for your concluding remarks.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Mela, for having us and conducting this discussion. I think this is great, and this needs to happen, all over the place. Tigray need to come and sit down and discuss about different things. I know today we discussed briefly, but please continue to do this. We need it. And also, I want to say thank you so much to Axumawian Media for giving us this platform to discuss. I know Gide, he's my friend, and he's been doing an amazing job. So I also want to say, everybody support Axumawian Media, because we need to support our own media. If we don't support them, no one can support them. So I'm speaking not only for Axumawian Media, but also other Tigrayan medias. So we all need to come and support them, especially when they do an amazing job being a voice and advocating, justice and truth. And then lastly, of course, like Samra said, the fight is not over. Our people are still starving. There are a lot of people experiencing famine. So we need to help them. We need to come together. I know that as a diaspora, we've been doing so much. We've been giving. I understand it's very difficult. But at the end of the day, right, if we don't help our people, then who's going to help? Who's going to help them? No one's going to help them, So at this point, until Tigray is completely independent and free, that they can, generate their own, income or whatever, until that happens, until that transition, right? Until all the IDPs go back to where they came from, until they are in their homes. So we all need to come together and be a voice, continue to fight, for our people back home. Continue to be a voice. Also, I just want to say lastly, don't forget TDF, our brothers and sisters who are in a very bad condition. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
So that will be the end of our discussion today. Thank you all for staying with us. Thank you, Marhawi. Thank you, Samrawi. Appreciate you guys being here. And also the Boston community for allowing us and accommodating this discussion. And thank you for all of you guys who are watching and our audience here today. Thank you.